What's good, everybody? It's Mr. Composition, the MC that writes fiction, back at it with another reaction. So, we got another fantastic hip hop video. Why Drake is getting canceled for dissing Tupac and caught with minors again. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video on the road to 10K. Man, this has been such a weird thing to watch as Drake just continues to just spiral. We've got the whole recent, court stuff that was going on in family court, which lends, credit to what Kendrick was saying in Meet the Grams as far as other children. There was even people saying that a part of the Luther video that Kendrick actually got word of this sketch and kind of recreated it in the video. I'm like, holy smokes, I don't know if that's true or not. Then we got, I don't know if this is the real cover as far as for Drake's Iceman, but it looked really weird. And, there's the whole Uno reverse that UFG was apparently stating with Drake with this whole suing as far as stuff, evidence, as far as him with underage people and stuff like that. And now recently, this alleged Tupac death row chain that apparently the jeweler sold him a fake or something like that. Lots of crazy stuff. But if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, notification bells on so you don't miss when I drop a new video on the road to 10K. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Now, when it comes to Drake, well, now, if you are ready to see how jewelry hunting Karen is begging for his hip hop card back by buying Tupac jewelry and has never looked worse for it, and at the same time, well, some weirder news than ever came out about Karen's not just more, but way more than minor issues now, be sure to leave that like and subscribe. And now, really, as our Drizzy is showing that when we just see half of what he did and what's coming out about him right now, he won't just never be allowed to ever step foot in the rap game again, but he will never be allowed to watch Stranger Things as well? Make sure to leave that like, and we just gotta get into this, because right now, well really, Drake is showing with each new thing and move that he is making, that the guy must have a calendar at this point that is guiding him to crash out to new lows and just leave us more and more baffled each day, because really, with what Diddy Drizzy just did after Kendrick Lamar popped back in LA to perform with the Clips and everybody was talking about how rap has never been more back and Drake has never been more sent back to the cosmics, well, it is really just showing us so much about Drake, which first off, as I have called out, his response to all of this is a prime example of his attention-chasing and clout-seeking thing that he does when bad news comes out about him, or when something good happens for a rival of his, which is just as immediately as possible to start what I am calling the Karen cycle or Lawbury loop, which is where Drake tries to take back the headlines or send some sort of a weird sneak diss to his opponent's way. And well, speaking of doing exactly this, well, Cupcake Karen, and stick around for what I am going to say later in this video, because that name of Cupcake has really never held more weight to it, has seemingly spun his wheel of losing, and now to take over the headlines seemingly and diss people to try and look more hip-hop in his eyes. Well, this time Drake is cosplaying as Indiana Aubrey or Cupcake Jones, but he isn't finding treasure and putting it in museums to honor the history he tried to convince us he studies for a living, but he's buying hip-hop jewelry from the possession of strange vultures, and well, according to Diddy Driz, it does not belong in a museum, and it belongs in his law-loving, ghostwriting hands, as well disappointing us all once again. Drake has come out and tried to hype up his Copenhagen shows for the OVO Karaoke Snooze Fest tour, or whatever it's called, which in of itself, while that might be a small sneak diss towards Kendrick Lamar already, as it alludes to track 3 off Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, Worldwide Steppers, where Kendrick recalls a life-changing experience that went down during his Good Kid Mad City tour in the same city. Well, regardless of Drake being obsessed with Kendrick, where he is really just making his own language to diss him without ever...
It is crazy because it's just all like, what did you think? Like of course, he had the Pharrell chain and different things like that. And it is weird that this is the moves that you want to do. You know what I mean? It's so weird. Like the dude is either about to be or is 40. And the way that he's moving, you would think that he was 20 something. You know what I mean? But And no one, his mother, like somebody of good conscience in his quarter, it's so weird. No one is saying like, hey, don't do this. Like it may just chill out for a little bit. And it's crazy because you have so many Drake stands that it's weird because there's certain stands where you know that they exist and they show out for the artist by way of the music, whether that be views, whether that be streams, whether that be album sales. But Drake's one of those fans where, or he has one of those fan bases where they will come out to just talk mad-ish online, but they won't show up for his music, which is so weird. So it makes me think that a lot of this stuff just is fake, but it's weird because you will see the quote unquote Drake fans in real life and it doesn't add up at all. And I seen as far as the Kendrick Chains with that drill was so dope. And yes, everybody was talking about it because it was fired. It was the first time that he performed it live with the clips in LA, so that in itself is dope. And I think there was some show where Drake was trying to get the crowd to mosh and trying to get it to look like a Kendrick show, and it just was not happening. It was not happening. So it's just so weird the way he's
saying it
moving.
directly, where things really take off and get big here, and where we see the play that Drake is once again running from the worst playbook that we have ever seen drawn up.
Seriously.
Well, it all comes down to Karen flaunting the fact that he has possession of Tupac's pennant from when he was on one of the most iconic hip-hop labels of all time in D-Row, which, quick side note, after bouncing around ownership and then being in the hands of Hasbro and finally being owned by Snoop Dogg now? Well, really, after all of the shading of Tupac that we have seen from Drake, and even Kendrick addressing both that and Snoop's passiveness in this entire situation on Whacked Out Murals, of course, I do have to question Snoop's leadership at this point. If Drake is really now dissing both the rapper who he made classics alongside with and who he was seemingly so close to according to his own word, and on top of that now, the very label that he does own, and it will be time for that conversation if Snoop does not speak on this, but for now, for Karen, with this move, however you want to spin it, well, Drake is really just trying to look like the bad, scary guy on the block who owns the jewelry and items that may be the most feared and competitive rapper ever owned, and well, with this, I got news for Drake, but no matter what he tries to do and how he tries to hold this thing up and get any sort of hip-hop clout that he can, well listen, already for him, beyond the ghostwriters, being Jimmy Brooks from Degrassi, this being you and making clown songs like you have for so long, because again, no respected rapper or somebody that Tupac would ever want to be near with would say things like this, and this. Really, at the end of the day for Aubrey, no matter what you ever did in the rap world that was even slightly.
And there's no reason for him to do this. This is why people call him culture vulture, colonizer, different things like that, because of these particular type of moves, the suing over a diss track, all these different things. And then what's so wild about it, especially the suing, is the fact that he started it. He got personal. He did all these different things, and it's just all like, what in the world is even going on? Why is this even skating by? Why is this okay? You know what I mean? It's again, just like he was saying, the disrespect Drake has been doing to Tupac, and then to be like, you know what? I'm gonna get his death row pendant. That ought to make things better. Like, no, you fucking idiot.
Liked. Everybody who respects and cares about this culture can see that you are Karen, and no matter what you do and what you try to hold up, you are never going to look tough or be cool for it, especially when you are taking away hip-hop artifacts from the culture, just like the vultures you got them from, instead of putting them in a museum or in any sort of exhibit where the legend's legacy can be preserved and learned about by fans and people to really just get the greater impact of hip-hop on a greater scale. And really, at the end of the day, with Drake just getting these items, like he is getting VC to make his My Player look cooler at the park. I mean, it does not matter how great the person's items you are flaunting are, because you did the rap equivalent of pay to win. And really, no matter how you pull up to the park and no matter how cool your gear is, you're still not a good hooper. And what I mean by that is that really no item in hip hop history is gonna make Drake look good, and he is forever going to be known as the guy who is all gear but no game. And speaking of no game,
Right?
Wilford Lawbury, while he has no game in the hip hop world, what he really needs to stop doing is playing games with his future and reputation. Because after Drake's
Seriously.
label did come out and say to him that they are going to expose his creepy past in the lawsuit that he started, and they are going to use that against him. Well, there is another rumor for Drake that is getting bigger and bubbling that his stands are trying to ignore but just can't now. And what I am talking about is coming from a viral clip where a girl is telling none other than Fousey that she went to one of Drake's house parties with her friend's older sister. And this is where it gets weird, when she was in grade 7, and when you hear the story of how Drake's team just let these people in because they were in their friend's dad's Rolls Royce. And then she says that they were partying in a pool with Tyga in a hot tub, and at this, Lawbury was just running around crazy here. And making the story even wilder, she was saying how she baked Drake cupcakes personally one time, which I can't. I told you.
Before we get into that, this video is sponsored by me. Hey, if you want to dive into new music, I have a catalog. Yeah. These are not singles. These are albums. But more recently this year, I did release an album called Tame Chaos. So you can listen, stream, download, purchase, all of that in the link in the description. And just, check it out, because I want to see if people are actually seeing this and going to the site. So anyways, wow, that is insane. And what's crazy is I never understood with these people why you have access to so many of age women. Why even risk it? Why even risk it? Why not have everything in place to where literally they shouldn't even been around? They should have, the 7th grade. Oh my goodness, man. It is wild. It is completely wild. And what was interesting was I seen a breakdown, and they was talking about, because there was a person who goes in and draws the sketches as far as like in the courtrooms and different things like that. And the person who was making the correlation was just all like, it's strange that Drake had actually, there was another date that the Nokia video was supposed to drop, but it apparently dropped on that same day that information was out. So it was like nobody freaking knew about it. It was just like, oh, here's the Nokia video, da 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 da. And that was crazy. That was crazy. I'm gonna leave this full video for y'all to check out, but this is insane. What is going on? What is going on? Y'all let me know in the comments. It's Mr. Composition of MC, that writes fixture, back at it with another reaction. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, notification bell so you don't miss when I drop a new video. On the road to 10K, make sure to check out the description for my music, books, comics, and more. All right, y'all. Peace.